Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this, I would say a little unusual, but these are not exactly usual times, meeting of the Community and Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee. We are here today to basically go over the budget again. Now, just a reminder for members in the chamber, please keep your masks on at all times except when you are speaking. Members who have kindly agreed to attend virtually, please do put your hand up. I do have my system up as well, so I'll be able to see you when you put your hand up to ask questions. And if you are on remote, please do mute phones, Alexas, TVs, etc., and unmute yourself and turn your camera on when you're speaking. The reason for, just for the record, as this is being broadcast live, is due to the increase and recommendation from the government. We decided to go for a little bit of a sparser attendance in the hall this evening, just so that we try and lessen the exposure to everyone as possible. So going through the meeting, apologies for absence. I believe the only one I got was potentially for, we have Paul Fishwick, who was apologising, and we've got Rochelle, who's attending as a deputy remotely, if my memory is correct.
Yes, Chairman. So Paul Fishwick has given apologies, as have Alison Swaddle.
Yep.
So Paul's being subbed by Rochelle this evening, and Alison is being subbed by Jackie. And okay. Bill Cunnington has also given his apologies.
Okay, that's fine. Right, minutes of the previous meeting. So I've got the minutes here. I'll go through them page by page. Page 5. 6, there is an amendment I would like to change in here, a very minor grammatical one. The third bullet point, it should say Easter 2023, not 2022. Does anyone have any objections to that slight typographical change? Do I need a formal vote on that? Okay, no objections there. Anything else on 6? Paris destroyed. Page 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12, 13, 14, 15. If that's the case, could I ask that those minutes with those minor date corrections be accepted as read? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. That's carried. Okay. Declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? I am not seeing anyone on Teams either, so that's good. Public question time. Were any public questions submitted?
None received, Chair.
Any members' questions submitted?
None received, Chair.
Okay. Right. So we're going on to the meat of the agenda, which is the budget, which is item 61, going through communities, insight, change, and resource and asset management. Graham, do you want to say anything here to start with while I find my page?
Yes, please, Chairman. It's page 21 is where this starts. And just to remind this committee, we've been here presented to this committee the summary, what was called Financial Lockdown 1. And then we've followed with children's services and adult social care, and then places and growth. And this is the last of the follow-up sessions that breaks down the summary position presented you back in the summer. We have a further meeting in January, early January, which I intend to use to present to you significant changes since lockdown 1, and we should be informed of the local government finance settlement at that stage.
So sorry, I was going to say, so that means you're expecting it not next week, but like on the 23rd.
Well, we're hoping it's going to be this week. I haven't heard of anything. I haven't received any notification, but I am still hopeful it's this week. And if it is this week, it'll probably be Thursday. That's usually when the minister makes the statement. Just to repeat, well, reinforce and remind, this financial lockdown one contained a high degree of uncertainty, and that's set out on page 21. So it was all the inflation, local government finance settlement, and all sorts. So that's just a repetition of what I've represented to you each time. So we do face a very high level of ambiguity, uncertainty, unknown, but of course we must proceed as best we can. What I would also like to say, orientate ourselves to the fact that this committee has had these papers for resources and assets and CIC, and we'll start with CIC for probably 5 weeks now. They're exactly the same as presented when you considered place and growth, and you weren't able to get to those. So I would strongly advise that we follow the same approach as we did for landed up following for place and growth, whereby you've received the papers. CIC are set out their revenue, growth, savings, special items and capital as set out on pages 25 to 29. We have officers in attendance to support, but obviously this is primarily led by the lead members, some of which unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but I am pleased to say that John Kaiser can. So through various reasons of having to rearrange and COVID as well having an impact, we haven't got as high a level turnout as we usually have. However, we are well supported, I think, in terms of officer input. So if it's okay with you, Chairman, I think if I say, well, CIC are pages 25 to 29 as set out in your agenda, and we're here to take questions from you. And but before I hand, sorry, can I just clarify that's okay as an approach, and then I'll just hand over to see if John Kaiser, you want to say any words by way of introduction.
Thank you, Graham. Yeah, I've got no issue. Effectively, my logic was to go through effectively page by page, so looking at 26 and then referring to so for example 26, we got the various different aspects on that. For revenue bids, they've got their bid reference number associated with them. So if anyone's got any questions on page 26, for example, on CIC R3, they can ask a question on that, and we're referring to the CIC R3 information sheets further in the pack. That's the way I would wanted to do it. That's the way we were doing it last time, and I thought it worked quite well. So yeah, I'm happy to do it. Take it that way. John, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. I don't think I've ever been at this point in the budget with so much uncertainty. There are a number of issues which will impact these numbers. A lot of them are already out of date, so you'll have to bear with us, because if you ask questions, we will tell you that we will at least hint to you what they're going to look like in lockdown 2, which we're currently working on at the moment, but is waiting to go to CLT sometime this week, which will then follow the normal executive route through to overview and scrutiny. And as so the real meat, the meeting with the real meat will be the one in January, because we will know how much money we're actually getting, and it will actually tell us about our bonuses, what bonuses are staying, what bonuses are going, and we may even have some more clarity around things such as adult care. I'm not promising that will be the case, and of course the other issues around inflation, which we built in one number, and now we're finding that we might have to build in another number, and of course there will be some stuff that will not just go up, but there will be stuff that will have to come out to balance the budget. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, John. Clive, I saw your hand shoot up earlier. Do you have a question on this point? Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, John. I fully understand the difficulties that you've got in going through this budget process. And our next meeting is on the 5th of January. Do you think, Graham, that you will actually have enough time, bearing in mind it's Christmas, to come up with a new budget for us for that night, and one where there is an easy comparison with what, say, we were shown when we had the first budget meeting?
Yeah, thanks, Clive. Yeah, you're right. It will be tight because it's not just the fact that we're meeting on the, is it 5th of January? Yes,
Yeah, it is.
but the paperwork needs to go out 7 days before, so it's very soon upon us. Look, that date's in the diary. I would do all I can to try to make that meeting as full and complete as possible, and it will have effectively a list of the changes since lockdown 1. So you will be able to see what's gone in, what's come out, with the explanation as to why that's been the case. It's going to be tough, especially as a lot of the council are now being drawn into responding to the Omicron and booster vaccinations, and of course potential depletion of staff. So it's not ideal, that's for sure. But I'll play it however you want, and we can just try to see how complete I can make the 5th, or you could take the view you'd rather give it a bit more of an opportunity to be fully complete.
I think personally, Graham, we'll keep the 5th in for now, but if there's anything, if it's looking like it's going to be a challenge due to staff being redeployed or whatnot, just keep me informed and I will inform committee members if we do need to push things back or things like that. Just aim for the 5th, and if circumstances work against you, we'll deal with it in that regard, because I know this isn't the first time that you've had to, you got the budget late in and from government and had to rewrite some bits, because it happens every year. It's the Christmas gift that all financial officers get from the government, a settlement that isn't what they expected. So yeah, one final point, Clive, and then we'll move on to the main bit.
I just suspect that we might need to have another meeting, because Graham's going to be producing quite a lot of stuff for us to go through on the 5th of January, because there's going to be what the original budget line was and what it is now and why it's changed up or down, whichever way. So I think that it is going to generate an awful lot of questions on the night. So I'm just wondering whether you need to have a reserve date.
I mean, what would help, Chairman, if I may? We will do what we can to get it to you to make the evenings less painful. It'd probably be if the members at overview, if they've got the papers, if they could submit their questions to us, it would make it a lot easier for us to be able to have meaningful answers, rather than the on the hoof answers or answers which say we need to get back to you. It will make it a lot more meaningful meeting, Chairman.
And Chairman, just to add, it will be by necessity John and myself and not the whole of the council. So the more helpful you could be in that regard, the better our answers, but it won't be practical to bring all members and all officers across the council, because there's going to be changes everywhere. So myself and John will try to be as formative as we can and cover the whole piece.
Indeed, that's fair enough. Just for members' awareness, if we do need to put in an extra one, it will have to be a Friday. So just making you aware there. Okay, right. So we'll move on to the actual questions part. So on page 26, who's got questions on this bit? Sam, I can see your hand shot up.
Thank you, Chairman. My question, I guess, is for John, who's the lead member for this. So I'm regards to CIC R6. Just really interested to know what exactly is the re-customer app. It says here for council tax and selected services. I'm keen to know what it is, how it will work, and I guess what the cumulative benefits will be for installing this and using this for our residents.
Okay, I've got the pack into me. And what number did you say it was?
So it's on page 26. We've got under CIC
Oh, right. Okay.
R6.
Thank you. That helps. 26, right. Graham, is this part of the customer delivery program that we're putting in?
Do you want me to take that one, John? It's Sally.
Yeah, I was
Sally,
about to say,
yes,
just
you could. Yes, I think. Yes, thanks, Sally.
Thank you. Good evening. All members will see that we've put this in for 23-24 rather than for next financial year, because what we're keen to do is, as part of our customer programme, is understand what our residents need in relation to digital services, and to ascertain what application, if an application is required, would make the most impact for our residents. So certainly at the last ONS, we talked about the benefit of having some services in an app linked to place and growth. So the plans would be to establish from a customer point of view what they feel the need would be, and to use 22-23 to understand best practice across other local authorities to ascertain if an application would bring forward some benefits from a customer experience perspective.
Thank you, Sally.
Anything else, Sam? Okay, next person I saw his hand shut up, which is actually Shirley.
Thank you, Guy. How do you want me to do this? I've got a few questions on, I'm starting off with one that hasn't actually got a bid reference, which is the introduction of the paperless borough news. And I just wanted to ask, because there isn't a bid reference, there's no background on this, and I just wanted to ask, is this just the preliminary sort of looking into how that's going to work? Because it does worry me a bit that we might go completely paperless and then exclude an awful lot of our residents from actually receiving the borough news. So that was number one. I don't know if you want to take them, answer them, and then I'll do the next one, or.
Let's take that approach. I know that Gregor was due to be joining us in a bit because he's got a family thing, so he may be better placed to answer that one. But go. Is that one possible to be answered now, or Sally? You're nodding, I see.
Yeah, that's fine. So that was a savings proposal, Shirley, that was put in for the first round, but we've decided that due to all of those questions that you've just raised, that it will be removed in the lockdown 2 process. So it was put forward but not supported, therefore will be removed when you see the next iteration that Graham's discussed in January. So thanks for the question.
Okay, thank you for that. The next one is on CICR2, which is a growth bid to do with shortfall in land charges. And I've read this several times and I can't quite see what exactly the bid is for. It says impact if bid not successful, underachievement of income target. And it's saying there's downturn as being seen by other local authorities. And I understand what's going on here, but I can't quite see what the 45,000 in year 1 and the 70,000 in year 2 are actually intending to achieve. I'm not quite sure what the bottom line of this is. So perhaps I'm being a bit silly, but I have looked at it several times.
I'm happy to answer this because this is a technical one to some degree. So in the budget, there is an ongoing expectation of a figure. And if it looks like that expectation is no longer achievable, you have to put a growth bid in to reduce the savings target. So that's the only way of reducing that ongoing expectation in the budget to put a growth bid in, which has the effect of reducing the savings target to something which is more realistic. So if we didn't put that growth in, the savings targets would stay at the previous, then we would know that we were going to underachieve, and therefore we'd overspend, and it would be an unsafe budget.
I see. So it's not like, well, if we expend 45,000, it may help us to.
No, this is income we're going to lose.
Right. Okay. I think I've got that.
Lost it. Yes, it's just recognising that our ongoing income stream is going to be lower.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Guy, would it be all right if I had another one? Another question.
Go for it.
Yeah. Thank you. CICR3 and R10, new target operating model, and it seems that there's a growth bid and a special item, both for the same thing. Now, the special item is for increase for personnel to implement this project, but I can't quite work out what the growth bid is for in that.
Okay. Sally, do you want to answer it?
Well, we've got Chris. Yeah, sorry, Chris, I was just about to introduce you to answer this one.
So, good evening, Shirley. There are two parts to this. So part one is really the revenue bid, the increase to the baseline HR budget in order that we can deliver services to our internal customers. Part of that, why we need extra staff, is so that we have a strong leadership team that can deliver on some of the senior advice, but also we need to start looking at systems and processes and improving a lot of the way in which we operate and the way in which the HR function works. So that's the base bit, and the supplementary bit is really sort of transitional support to make us get to the point where we need to get to. So there are some transitional posts that are required, a data specialist to help us understand how best to use data, a reward specialist to review and look at all the reward packages that we have. Are they supporting what we want to do as a council? Do we need to streamline them? A project manager to help with a lot of the IT changes that we need to do, because there's quite a few systems that HR operate, and we're trying to rationalise, simplify and make it easier for people to use the system, but also easier for our customers to access. And then a couple of additional sort of what we call caseworker posts, people that do the handling of inquiries, because while we're doing all the changes, we still need people to do the day-to-day inquiry handling. So there are two parts to it. The second bit is supplementary, so those will tail off after sort of in 2023-24.
Okay, yeah, I understand that bit. I perfectly understand the special item. It's just, I think it's really that the description of the bid for both bits is pretty much the same. Okay. The main bit, the main chunk at we've got bid name, summary of bid, and then description of bid, and it doesn't. There's not enough definition, I think, between the two. So it looks like we're almost
same thing. Okay.
Thing, yeah.
Well, that's a learning point for me. I'm new to local government, so I will take that on board, and if I'll work with Graham and his team, and if we need to get it updated for the next budget book, then I'll do that.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. I'll stop there for a minute and give someone else a chance. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, Shirley. Okay, Clive. And then we'll be going to Anne on Teams after that, and then me.
Thank you, Guy. My first question is on CICR1. We've had increases in calls to customer service department, which you've given us examples of, but we haven't got any details of any increases for 2020-21. I'm assuming that they were greater than the 5% in 17-18 and 5% in 18-19 because of the pandemic. Would that be right?
I can
It's
probably
probably
answer that one for you.
Jackie.
Is that okay? I can answer that one for you, Clive. So we've seen a roughly 20% increase because obviously over the last 12 months, we haven't always been open all of the time. And people have obviously phoned up to find out what's happening and needing the extra reassurance. So there's been approximately a 20% increase over the last 12 months.
Okay, thank you very much. And we've got an extra 7 members of staff. Do you think that's enough? Is this going to give you what you want? Because I know there have been concerns over the last few years that customer services have not always had the staff that they maybe need to have, since 21C, and I think we lost a few key people then. Do you think this is the right number? This is going to get us back to being a good level?
I think the problem we've got with this budget, and it's quite important that we take this into consideration, this is what we believe we can afford currently. If we feel that we need to enhance that in any way because it's not working properly, we will do. But we have to start somewhere, Clive, and this is what we believe we can afford at the moment.
Thank you, John.
Okay, Anne. Oh, sorry, you just nodded to me as if I said I'm done.
I'm sure Clive hasn't finished. Does he need to?
Go on, Anne.
Okay, right. So actually, I suppose following on a bit from what Shirley was saying, and maybe it's been answered, but in the CIC R3, the expenses all in the first year, and I just wondered, realistically, would there actually be some more expense in the following years? Because
sorry,
it's
CIC R3.
Yes, the new target operating model.
Yeah, it's showing £245,000 for the full 3-year period.
Oh, I see. Under finance information,
So
it's listed. I see what you mean. It's listed as just under 1 year.
That may be because it's a one-off cost. That isn't recurring, but the 245 is a reoccurring cost. We believe that is going to be an operating cost for our human resource area going forward.
Yeah, Anne's correct. It's in the detail pack. It's missing in years 2 and 3.
Oh, right. It's
so
not
oversight there, I think.
Yes, it's there for 2. Yeah, it is for the full 3 years, Anne.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you. And actually, I'll ask about R10 now because it's related, isn't it? And this is the one where you're employing temporary staff to implement this. And I just, what will happen to those staff afterwards? I mean,
they will be temporary staff.
Right, so that they'll be aware that it's really
yeah, I mean, they will be employed either as consultants or contractors, but they will be temporary staff.
Oh, okay, right. So that sort of.
John, can I just say they're on fixed term contracts?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but they will be on contracts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Got 1 or 2 more. I think. Oh no, that's a good problem. Under R6. Oh, yes, the customer app for council tax and selected services. The RAG status is red. Sorry if you've already answered this, but what are the uncertainties that are causing it to be red?
Well, we're not sure whether we're going to need it. I mean, say apps are very fashionable.
Right.
And basically, I mean, if you see, we're not doing it next year. We're going to look to see what other councils are doing, and if it is something that we feel has some value. Now, remember that this is only an app for council tax and selected services. Now, quite a lot of people won't want it. And I guess the word selective services is probably more important than the council tax, because I doubt if many people will want an app to be able to go and check the council tax payments.
I think that's probably right. Yeah. But anyway, yes, what do I know? But yes, it's a good idea to see what others are doing. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Next one, R7, revenue support for capital bids, telephony, security, fibre, and IDS. Again, I was wondering why there are no costs in years 2 and 3.
Well, that is wrong, because there are costs in the version I'm looking at. Has a cost of 233 in year 1, 233 in year 2, and 283 in year 3.
Oh, right. So actually, I missed it. I've got 50,000 under year 3.
Yeah.
But,
You might be better if you go into the council website and have a look at the. What I'm looking at is basically the reports on the council website for the meeting.
It's on the. It is a. There's some. I think there's some confusion on where the lines are meant to be coming in, because
right.
on the paper in page 26, for example, it's showing that's the high level. It's giving us the high level, which is the cumulative totals, whereas in CICR 7. On page 48, for example, it goes year 1 233 K, year 2 0, cumulative 233 in italics at the bottom, and then year 3 50,000, cumulative 283 in italics at the bottom. So it's the italics that are being pulled into page 26.
Yeah.
That's right. Detail. It's a formatting error.
No, Chairman, it's about cumulative and non-cumulative. And what we're showing you on the slides is the cumulative position, and you have both versions in the bid, a non-cumulative look at it and a cumulative look. Yeah. I would say for me, I always understand it better when you see the cumulative position, as in if you onboard staff in year 1 costing 245, you'll see them there again in year 2 and in year 3. However, it's only a bid for year 1. Once they're on board, and they cost you in year 1, 2 and 3.
Agreed. I'm just explaining where the confusion's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Guy. I'm just saying that there's always 2 ways of looking at it. The additional money needed in an ongoing basis in year 1, and then is there any difference for year 2 or 3, or looking at it for just the cumulative impact over the 3 years. I agree. There's no way of simplifying it. There's 2 ways of looking at it.
So sorry, are you saying that the 233,000?
Can I just say, Anne? I mean,
yes.
So can we just deal with 2002, 2023? Because the numbers in 23, 24 and 24, 25 will no doubt change. So really, if we could just deal with 22, 23, that's what we're here to review, the budget for 22, 23.
I didn't know that, but in any case, could I just ask this question? Is that 233,000 expected to be spent in year 22 to 23?
Yes, because
it's
capital. It's for capital equipment for telephones, security, fibre. That's why it's capital.
No, sorry. This is CICR 7, yeah, which is a revenue bid, yeah.
Correct.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, that's the support. It's the support capital, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, and what that's saying is we will spend 233,000 in 22-23.
Right.
We will spend the same amount of money again in 23-24, and we'll spend 50k more in 24-25, maybe as a result of inflation or any other form of uplift.
All right. Well, in that case, can I just say then that in in this agenda pack, I do feel that the number. Oh, you're not wanting me to mention 23 to 24. No, it says naught, and I just find that totally confusing.
Yeah, I think we just need to ignore that, Anne, because otherwise it will just confuse the issue. I mean, say the year 2, 3 in this is something that will no doubt change anyway. Now you will get the complete figures when we do the sums when we come up with what we're getting as a grant. But I think for tonight, I think we just need to concentrate on the next 12 months from April this year, from April next year.
Oh, right. Okay. And
sorry, if I could just come, because it's important there isn't confusion in this room. Okay, if we take this line, CICR7, it's saying we'll spend 233,000 in 22-23. So that's the year of the bid, and that stays in place forever unless it's taken out. So it'll automatically be 233 in the following year, and then it would have been.
I can't hear you, Graham.
Sorry,
we're losing you, Graham. You've frozen with a very awkward grin on your face.
We're saying it will be 283 because we assume there will be an increase of £50,000 in the last of the years that appear in there.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
I can.
Yeah, right. I was just saying another way of looking at it is saying I want growth of 233 in year 1.
Yeah.
I want growth of 0 in year 2, and I want growth of 50k in year 3. Because once you've got the growth, it's in there, so you don't have to go and ask for it again. So you don't have to ask for that 233 again in year 2.
Right, I see. So that number is correct then in this form. But then in that case, can I just mention then, and I know when I'm not supposed to be mentioning it, that under description of bid, it says there will be Microsoft Sentinel annual costs. So the cost in 23 to 24 couldn't be 0.
Can I answer this one?
Yeah.
So, because this is actually going to be so stand by, Graham. You're not off the hook yet, because I'm going to answer this and then ask my own question. So, what is being proposed, Anne, is effectively to adopt a service from Microsoft called which is a service known as E5, and it's actually referred to in some of the capital bids as well. So it's effectively, this is the support costs to basically maintain that service in that regard. So when it's talking about things like Sentinel, etc., that's basically security services to support the deployment of the Teams estate that we've got and the rest of the council's infrastructure within Microsoft Azure.
Right.
Now, the question to Graham here is, because this is one of the great things that Microsoft sing and dance about with E5 and everything, is that due to the fact it is a predictable annualized cost in the way that they do it, why is it being put in the capital bids rather than as an ongoing cost line for next year? I just want to know what it is from a finance point of view, because I always thought that they went for an OPEX model as opposed to a CAPEX model in this regard. Have you got an option? Has there been a CAPEX option put on the table that we don't know about, as it were?
Do you want me to take that one? So, Guy, you're referring to CIC C1, the E5 licensing?
Effectively, yeah. It's a combination of CICR7, and then it's going into CIC1 to somewhat 3 and 4 and things like that, because it's not physical infrastructure, we're basically renting it from Microsoft to use their services. In my head, it's always associated with an operational cost as opposed to a capital cost. That's why I'm asking, because there's then no depreciation or anything like that. It's either going to be you decrease its usage, but then what you do with the data, or you increase its usage and you have to pay slightly more. That's why I'm slightly confused as to why it's in the capital lines.
So CIC C1 is not a new bid. It's showing in the pack because it's over £1 million, which is, I understand, how it's presented through to ONS. So this would have come through the process last year, as I understand it. We do have an option to be able to capitalise the licence costs, Guy, which is what the council have chosen to do from an E5 perspective, to ensure that we're able to best utilise the revenue that's available to us. But the initial E5 bid from a capital point of view came in 2021 to support, and it's considered the best option from a finance point of view to make sure we've got the right revenue spend within the service.
Okay, that's fine. That's the question I wanted to know, because
Yeah,
I'm sitting there going, it's a capital item. We bid on this last year. Why
That's
is it in capital again, continuous, when it's more, when in my head it was more appropriate to be a revenue, but if that's what effectively finance has decided, that makes sense. That answers the question. Okay. And have you got anything else?
Yes, I have. On item CIC R11, equalities and anti-poverty communication and engagement, I was just wondering what the expenditure will buy. Is it for extra staff, or possibly buying in expertise, or what's it for?
So you're right, Anne. It's for additional resource to support the internal and external communications that are absolutely critical when working with the community, with partners such as the VCS. So it's additional capacity within our engagement and communication service to support those critical services around anti-poverty and equalities and diversity.
Oh, right. So do you think you will have more staff in the team? Would it be something like that?
It will be fixed term kind of contract resource to support through the next financial year.
Oh, right. So it's envisaged to be quite short term, really.
I think, as John's alluded to earlier, we need to understand the budget for next year, make sure that we've got the emerging anti-poverty strategy in the project with the right communication and support around it. And the same for equalities and diversity, and it will be reviewed throughout the next financial year. And if considered needed to support, then as described, it would be built in as a growth bid for the next financial year after 22-23.
Oh, right. OK, thanks very much. Yes, I have finished now. Thanks.
I'll turn myself off. Clive, let's go back to you.
Thank you, Guy. So CIC R3 and I think it was R10. I think it's really good that we are investing in HR. Certainly needed to start to do that to improve our HR department.
So do we, Clive.
Pardon?
So do we, Clive.
Yeah. But that's why you're doing it, John, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying you're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
I don't want you to complain that I'm always complaining about you. So, but the last bit of this page, impact if the bid is not successful. It says that colleagues at WBC will not be effectively recruited, trained and developed to deliver line services to residents, and HR will be unable to support the organisation probably as it should be. But is this what has been happening over the last few years? And are we now addressing it? Has it actually been that bad?
No, I think what's happened, Clive, is that COVID's given us a real big wake-up call. I mean, so you just heard earlier on that the level of input, the level of incoming stuff has increased by about 20%. And so this is really a reaction to that and making sure that we step up to the plate, because we think that once people have used IT, once they've used other forms of communicating rather than walking into the council, it's unlikely that they're going to go back if they're happy with the result.
Yeah, I think it's totally along the lines of we will face increasingly challenging times as a council, and we need to up our game accordingly to be able to navigate those challenging times.
Okay, thanks very much. CICR5, very sensible decision. CICR6. Do we really need to be spending this 60,000?
No, Clive, that's 2023-24. As I said earlier on, I mean, we're going to look what other councils do.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't make sense, it will come out So that's why I say really we should just look at 22, 23, because these numbers will change undoubtedly significantly more than the coming next 12 months.
Okay, I'll just reiterate, I think what Anne said there, it's got a red rag status.
Yeah, well, that's
so it
because
could actually be quite a bit more than 60,000.
No, the red rags really to say was whether we do it or not, to be quite candid with you.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. CIC R7, very good to see that the system is being updated. How old is it?
Who knows?
How old is Microsoft? Because it's the cloud service, so it's literally 1980s if you want the honest answer.
Oh, it's that bad because if it is very, very old, have we been at risk of attack over the last few years?
No, I mean, say we're always at risk of attack, but I don't think we've had any major breaches. This is really to future-proof it, Clive, so we don't. I mean, there will be two things that will happen with regards to IT. I guess that the attacks will get more sophisticated and the legislation will get more complicated, and this is to enable us to meet both of those challenges.
To wear another hat here, to enhance what John was saying, is the attackers will always get smarter. It's better to be ahead than behind and experience what some of our London council colleagues suffered last year and in the last 12 months, where all facilities were basically locked out of them by both the attack they suffered from and from
with the NHS, didn't it? Because they hadn't paid attention.
And then from basically the intelligence squad coming in to basically clear up after the mess. So yeah, fortunately, this council has actually been on the forefront, in my professional opinion, wearing the other hat.
But you can never say never, Clive. You may have somebody come in tomorrow, something that other people haven't seen before. But we have to do our very best to protect our data, our residents' data, as well as our financial data.
Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult thing to do, John. My next question is CICR8, but that is 2024-25. So you don't really want a question about that.
No.
At the moment. Although this is to deliver sustainable organisational change, and it is quite a lot of money. It is something that I think everybody is agreed we need to do at the council, but it's something that we're going to have to put off because it is 860,000 quid.
Could I
red rag status?
Yeah, could I just say a few words on that? This council has time now operated as what's called a special item. So this is there for a year, but then we've had it maybe for 3 years as a rolling programme. And if you look back over time, you'll see there's quite a lot of years that we've had a special item for organisational change. And this is reflecting the fact that it's much better from a business organisational point of view and a financial point of view to hardwire the change into the organisation and stop maybe kidding ourselves that it's just a temporary thing. I think it's really flagging up that we believe change is here for good, and we need a resource in place to ensure that the council can constantly develop, flex, adjust and respond to the changing times, as opposed to maybe a more traditional organisation that wasn't embedded in continuous improvement in the way that we are now. and just bring in change when there's a big set piece. We are passionate about constant evolution, continuous improvement, and therefore having that resource in place in order to keep progressing, as opposed to just have it as a set piece once every now and then.
I really wish I could have recorded that and played it back to you from 10 played it back to you, taken it back in time and played it to you 10 years ago, Graham, because that was absolutely lovely to hear. That was lovely. Clive, carry on.
Sounded a little bit like the Humphrey, didn't it? Take that as a compliment, though, Graham.
Yeah.
I'll try to, Clive. I'll try to.
CICR 11. I think it's really good that we're doing something here with the anti-poverty communication and engagement, but a little bit disappointing to hear that it might be just fixed-term contracts. And can we really afford to have just people working on this for a year, couple of years, and then
I think the important
stop?
I think the important thing is, Clive, that this will set it up. This won't actually do it, and in the short term it will, but this will set it up, and it will become part of the general operation of the council, because that will end up embedded in lots of different areas like rent collection and rates collection, council tax collection, all those sorts of things. And so it's not a one thing only. This is basically seed corn to set it up to enable us to set those things up.
Well, that's really good then. Yeah, very good. Thank you, John. R12. So this is budget to deliver sustainable change, and it's quite a substantial amount of money. How is the money actually going to be spent? Is it appointing new staff? Is it extra IT systems? What is it? And in the description of the bid, the last bullet point says focus on financial sustainability with prevention of growth and MTFP deliverables.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
Okay, I'll start off, and Sally will know more detail. First of all, in my Sir Humphrey response, that's the first 2 years. That in the third year drops down to a much smaller figure. So in that dropping down to a much smaller figure, we're replacing with a growth, which means we now have a permanent situation or a permanent resource for change. So if you took the growth and added it to year 3 special item, you get pretty much the same picture over the 3 years. So that's an input. So that's the other side of that growth bid that I was talking about. So it's in year 3, turning that ongoing special into ongoing growth. Now that change team that Sally manages helps children's services, adult social care, in particular, those 2 areas, place and growth, but also resource and assets, undertake their change programs. And their change programs, particularly you'll see in adult social care and actually more emerging in children's services, there's some really significant savings lines attached to their budget bids. Well, if we didn't have the change support to enable them to turn their ideas and aspirations into a reality, they just remain as aspirations, because of course we always get consumed by the day job, and we quite often lack the expertise of making genuine change on the ground and making it stick. And that's what Sally's team do. They wrap around the likes of Matt Pope and obviously Carol, when Carol was here, and myself, in order to, these are your aims and aspirations around change and making savings, and we will come and help you get there. and show you how to do it and help it make it stick. Sally.
Thanks, Graham. And just to add to that, what that kind of function does as well, it has introduced a change gateway for the organisation, which is where ideas for innovation, ideas for transformation, ideas for budget savings can filter through. And that makes sure that we've got really robust business cases wrapped around those ideas for change. And then, as Graham describes, we work in partnership with those particular areas to support them achieve on their projects and programmes. It also includes the corporate PMOs, the Corporate Programme Management Office. It includes digital improvements as well to make sure that we're not just thinking internally, we're talking about making sure that we, through this resource, making sure that our customer experience as well as improved to be the best it can be. And that's what these specialists within the change service are able to support the rest of the council to deliver.
Okay, no worries. Sam, I saw you hand your hand up, and then I'm going to go to Shirley. And I think we're done on this bit.
Thank you, Chair. My question was in regards to CIC R7, page 47. Great to see the investment going into this area for telephony, security, fibre and IDS. Really keen to understand a little bit more around the moving legacy telephone systems from Microsoft Teams. What I guess keen to know what that would mean for members such as ourselves. So, for example, our officers currently not using Teams as we're seeing Teams on the screens today, or is this Teams as in a different element, a phone system, for example, not as in the Teams I'm seeing on the screen right now? And the other question I had was, could there be a situation where currently, let's say, as a member, if you're trying to get hold of, let's say, an officer, during the day, we could contact them via, let's say, an IM on Teams as opposed to getting hold of them on the phone. So essentially, what could be the benefits and implications of this upgrade for a member such as myself working with the council?
Okay, thank you for the question. So members can use the chat functionality on Teams as it stands at the moment to engage with officers, and a number of members do engage with me, for example, in that, using that functionality. What Teams telephony is slightly different to the Teams that we're used to using now through meetings like this. It's actually replacing on what's called on-prem or on-premise infrastructure, whereas that has kind of traditional telephony lines coming into the council, and instead it's moving to something called SIP or voice over IP, which is where we can actually use Teams to be able to function as a phone. So if you're looking to make or receive a telephone call, you can actually do that through external numbers and receive internal phone calls through your Teams telephony. So it's what's called moving to like a soft phone rather than a particular desk phone. So it's the next step on our journey to adopt Teams as a council.
Thanks, Sally. So I can see the benefits of that being if someone's trying to get hold of like an officer or someone at the council, you could effectively, someone could be working from home and therefore they're easy to get hold of because they've got effectively like an internet phone or a landline on their laptop.
That's correct, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sally.
Shirley.
Thank you, Guy. I'd like to just talk a little bit more about CICR11, the Equalities and Anti-Poverty Communication Engagement. Obviously, lots of questions have been answered already, but my concern slightly is that we've lumped equalities and anti-poverty together in this regard. And I wonder how much of that money, is it going to be an equal split between the two? But also that I'm surprised really that equalities is a special item because we're into our second year of the equalities strategy. So we should have some idea of what the spend will be. That plan is there. It's sort of hardwired. So I would have thought that wouldn't necessarily have been a special item. It should have been embedded into growth. I can understand anti-poverty being a special item because we're just starting on the anti-poverty strategy journey. So I just wondered if you could explain why they both come up as a special item.
Of course. So thanks, Shirley. So It is 2 resources, one to focus on internal and one to focus on external. And obviously through the cross-party working group linked to equalities, we've recognised that we need to strengthen the equalities and diversity approach across the piece. You're absolutely right. It is in its 2nd year, but we're just starting on our journey in relation to the Resident Equality Forum, which is external. And we want to make sure that this new way of engaging with the community is best supported, whilst it's in its infancy, to really make sure, as John alluded to earlier, that it embeds and it really kind of becomes part of what we do. So for this, on that purpose, that's the reason why we've got that in as a special item for the 1st year.
Okay, so what's going to happen then is that the equalities and the anti-poverty engagement is going to be, if we had a Venn diagram, this money is going to cover the overlap between the two. Is that what you're saying?
So it would cover both aspects. So we see, obviously, we've got that inclusion piece, which is socioeconomic, or from a equalities and diversity point of view. So we would see real synergies of having one individual externally who is focused on both anti-poverty and equalities, and one person internally who's focused on anti-poverty and equalities, because the two often have overlaps, as you've just described through the Venn diagram model.
Yeah, I'm just slightly worried that the two being lumped together. In a way, I'd like to have seen them as 2 separate headings on here, just from the point of view that I just worry that one bit of it will use up all the money, and then won't be enough left for the other one. And if it was divvied up between the two headings, I think I'd feel more comfortable.
Okay, I'll take that feedback on board, Shirley. I can, from an operational point of view, obviously it's part of my service, and I'll make sure that we get the right level of resource and support across both of what are kind of really high profile programmes of work, really important to the council.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Shirley. Rochelle.
Okay, R12, CIC R12, the change program. Sorry, I'm going back and forth between 2 different windows here. I'm just curious, what have we learned from our previous change programs that we're going to incorporate here, so we'll not make the same mistakes, but possibly make new mistakes, or fix the mistakes we've had in the past?
Okay,
we've done a lot of things in before. We've had some very good change programs. We've had some not quite as good change programs. What have we learned, and what are we incorporating into this, so that we use the better ideas, not the less better ideas?
Okay, I'll start with that. I think you're actually absolutely spot on. Change is often about making mistakes, because you're into new territory, and it quite often involves innovation and some boldness, because the easiest thing is just to do nothing. So it's about being alive to what can be learned, and then what can be flexed and adapted to. And I would say the key thing is that we learn, and we have the governance in place which enables the learning. We have the governance in place that enables the delivery, and when I say the governance, I mean the resource as well, so that we are able to embrace this ongoing approach of continuous improvement. So we do know that change is here as a constant. We do know that we will always strive to be better, and we are trying to be the best that we can be, and even sometimes being the best isn't good enough. So we know all of this, and I would say one of the big lessons learned is baking that change resource into the budget as a permanent state, in order to be able to support the organisation the way it needs, and really drive forward that can-do attitude amongst officers and all those that we work with.
what problem have we had in the past in change programs that you're correcting for now? Or what can you put some examples of things that we had problems in change programs?
I would give a good example in the past as under-resourced change. And of course, as things move on, things evolve, new opportunities become available to us. And it's important to be looking beyond the organisation. It's being clearer about what our key priorities for change are. And it's about making sure that when we enact change, that we finish it and make it fix, as opposed to be quick and speedy to move on to new things. So it's about creating all of the environment for change and all the systemic approaches that sustain that.
I think Rochelle, for me, investment in change is all about making sure what we do is embedded into how we work and how we think. It's very easy to slash and burn when you're under financial problems, when you've got financial challenges. But I think the medium and long term result, if you want the results to be correct, you must embed them into the organisation and not just look at how much you can save this year, but look how much it impacts the organisation going forward. If we've learned anything, that's probably one of the lessons we need to look forward more. As I say, COVID makes a difference because of what's happened, and it makes it difficult for us to think how things will happen or work in a normal year, if there ever is a normal year. And that is another thing that we need to take into consideration, just how much of the carryover that we've got from the pandemic will stay with us forever.
Well, the pandemic will stay with us for a few more years, at least. The government's preparing up to about 2025, from what I've understood.
Yeah. So,
And,
you know, what do they say? A dog's just not for Christmas. I mean, we've got to embed it into the organisation.
And COVID's not just for Christmas or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
It just seems like we will have more variants coming through over time, unless we find a much better solution for what we're doing. And the same thing will happen again and again. We've found this so far over the last few of them that we've had. And how are we going to work this into everything as well? Because it's very nice to say you want all this change, but how do we actually deal with things that we can't feel are going to happen? We never thought COVID was going to happen probably 3 or 4 years ago.
No, and yes, there are some things that are known, and somebody said there are some things that are unknown, and some of the things that are known are really unknown things. And that's the world that we live in, unfortunately. And much as I'd like to say, well, next year we're doing this and that's going to, in a lot of cases, local councils, they're in a chain of command, and you do tend to get washed up and down the beach by what happens in world politics. We don't really, the only thing that we can control is the level of service that we provide to our residents. And I think always in the forefront of what we're doing should be reacting in the best and safest way, delivering the best outcomes to residents. I know it sounds it's all we can do. We don't have any power to do anything else.
Thank you. I am now convinced that St. Nicholas gave to Graham and John a copy of Yes Minister for St. Nicholas's Day on the 6th, because that was another worthy Sir Humphreyism there, John. Okay, I think we can move now on to the. Oh, Sam, did you have one more thing, and then we're going to move on to capital? Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman. My question was in regards to CIC R8 on page 49. I think it comes under community insight and change, bid type growth. It says here, well, a couple of things. On the following page, on page 50, bear in mind we've mentioned a lot of things about organisational change today, and it being quite an important topic. What's the reason why under year 1 and 2, expenditure and income is 0, but there's an emphasis on 860k in 24? So just keen to know why it's 0 in year 1 and 2. And following on from that, just reading in the middle paragraph, it just said change activities managed through directorate-led transformation programs.
Sam, can I just say, please,
Yeah,
can
sure.
we leave the other 2 years alone, because that will change significantly. And while we're at this point, it's pointless talking about them. Let's just deal with the 12 months that we're predicting forward. I mean, the shape of the budget will change, or could change significantly after the settlement. And really looking 2 years out is, well, it's 3 years out, isn't it? So can we just concentrate on, well, we'll never get through this tonight, and that's really important. I'm sorry to say it, but we will make it a lot more meaningful once we know what the actual settlement figure looks like.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I mean, I think, so looking at on page 50, just focus on year 1. Just interested to know why the figure's 0, and my other sort of just general question on the middle paragraph was, regards to just what could be the main challenges with leading the transformation program in this area.
If I can just answer that one, Sam. So the reason why it's 0 in year 1 and 2 is because there's a special item. So for year 1 and 2, and as Graham mentioned earlier, year 3 shows a growth because we're keen to permanise the change function as part of just what we do as an organisation. So it isn't that there isn't any funding attributed to year 1 and 2. It's a special item with a reduced special item for year 3 to support the growth position for year 3.
Yes, so there's funding at a reasonably significant level for all 3 years.
Okay,
thank you.
I just went on to autopilot with work there and unmuted the computer. We'll move on to the capital items there, which is going on to page 29 and just page 29. Does anyone have any questions on capital items, please? I know I've asked my comments already on the E5 licenses and things like that. So while everyone's having a think, I do have a question. It's not actually got any, I don't think it's got any bid notices in here, but it's in regards to the smartphone refresh. I assume that's being done so that members of staff within the council can take advantage of the new features that are coming with the E5 licenses, so they can basically be used as a full voice over IP style phone, as opposed to effectively having to rely on something that doesn't have that capabilities. Am I correct in that assumption?
So if I can take that one, so we always build capital in for hardware because the hardware will need to be refreshed to take advantage of new functionality, as you've mentioned, Guy, but also to make sure that they are up-to-date handsets and are on supported versions to ensure that our security of our data is maintained.
Okay, thank you. Clive, I can see your hand shut up.
Thank you, Guy. So on CICC 2, definitely agree. Excuse me. Definitely agree that the IT system needs to be safe. This is spending of £1 million. Is it enough?
From my point of view, Clive, I think from an IT perspective, Wokingham has invested significantly in ensuring that its IT provision is robust and secure. This capital bid that's gone in is something that I support as the AD for IT, and that my head of IT also supports as the right amount to ensure that we continue with that continuous improvement, but from a technology perspective and from a security point of view.
And CICC3, we do have to keep our equipment up to date. How many new devices does this £1 million cover? Any idea?
So we would tend to aim to replace 200 to 300 devices on a rolling programme per annum, rather than do every device on a big bang, just because it's not practical nor feasible from an IT delivery point of view to do that level of change. So it is on that rolling programme of device swap outs in the hundreds per annum.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, just to quantify, with all devices aiming to be replaced on a 4-year cycle, which is in line with industry best practice.
Great, thank you very much.
Not seeing anyone else indicate nor on Teams, so what we'll do now is we'll go on to resources, assets and revenue. We have a nice amount of incoming here.
Guy, can I say, if we're moving on to resources and assets, then Sally and Chris and Jackie can leave the meeting if they want to.
That's fine. If they need to, they can. Sorry, Jackie, I'm afraid you can't leave the chamber yet in here. Just make sure. But anyway, thank you very much for your contribution this evening. It's been very useful.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Does anyone have any comments to ask on this, to lead off on this section, or do we want to dive straight into the questions? More to Graham and John, but obviously not. So any questions on this section? Clive?
Bear with me. The first one was going to be about the crematorium, but I think as there's nothing in the budget for next year, I'll leave that. It's money being spent after. Maybe that's something that's going to disappear.
Just to confirm my clarity as well, red, when we've got it in the revenue bids, those are are these incomings? So this is income, isn't it?
These are incomes.
Yeah.
These basically Graham calls them savings, but in most cases they're income. You'd understand them as income if you worked outside the council.
Yeah, it's just that brackets and red in.
Yeah, I know it's the wrong way.
Confuses non-finance officers in local authorities' brains.
Yeah, just so you know, it's the SIPFA standard presentation that we use because it's consistent with other local authorities around the country, and brackets means credit as in income or savings, and non-brackets means growth extra expenditure. Yep.
It's just backwards to the way the rest of the world operates. Carry on, Clive.
Thank you, Guy. RAR2, savings that we're going to get from investing in regeneration housing and commercial investment, an extra £700,000. How much have we got to spend to get that £700,000? And then another question to go with that is, what is the interest rate that we're going to get from the Public Loans Work Board? And how does it compare with, say, 3 years ago?
Right, I'll start off with the PWLB rates for long-term loans are about 2%, and that's very comparable with a few years ago. There was some was about 2 years ago that there was a temporary hike of +1%, and that seems to have smoothed itself out now. So long-term borrowing has been, if you set aside that temporary hike, about 2% for there or thereabouts for some time now, sometimes 1.8, sometimes 2.3.
I think what's important on this one, Clive, and I'll tell you before you ask a question, the £700,000 is not necessarily the numbers you're going to see next time round, and the reason for it is the opportunities are no longer there for various reasons. We feel that the market's overheated and will continue to be that way as pension funds and people run around trying to find somewhere to put their money. So this number may not be that number, and if it's not, it will mean that the borrowings to support that will be significantly less, because it just means we won't bother doing this. So although we lose the savings, we don't get the debt, if you like. So, and that's something that will change significantly, I guess, when we do lockdown 2.
And building on John's comments there, we will be looking much more closely at, for example, solar panels, where we know that we can make not just good return, but obviously we can significantly advance our climate emergency agenda, and that's in the backdrop of escalating utility costs, which of course makes a business case even stronger.
RAR3. So this looks like savings from using less office space. We've got it as amber, so we're not certain that we're going to make these savings. What's the particular reason for not being able to make them?
Again, I think year one is probably going to be more than achievable. The only thing that could compromise that, Clive, could be again, I go back to Rochelle, what's happening with COVID. We've got it for years to come. If it's not practicable to put people into close proximity, it means we may have to keep some of our existing outlier stuff that we wouldn't have done. But I believe that the number of 270,000 is achievable.
And I would add to that saying we're currently in the process of going through our program, which has been supported by Sally and her team, called Workplace Reimagined, and therefore we haven't come to the conclusion of that, even if there was a nice stable static environment. So we're not in a position to feel confident to the point of green. We just know that going forward, we, as a responsible and a more technologically driven organisation, an enabled organisation, we should be able to make cost savings and even indeed carbon savings by reducing our footprint.
Okay, thanks. R4, this is contracts and commissioning reviews, and we're expecting to be saving £400,000. Which contracts do we expect to make these savings on?
Yeah, I think again, say we're fairly confident that we can make the savings of £250,000. I would suggest that the £400,000 that is shown there may be impacted, and that may be impacted because there's no doubt about it. Some of our contractors are not going to be in a position, because of inflation and because of additional costs, to actually allow us to make those savings with them. But again, I believe that 250,000, which is 22-23, is a reasonable amount of money, and we should be able to make that just by improving communication with our contractors as much as anything else.
And again, in addition to what John's saying, we're adding extra resource into our procurement team, which also supports will also support the contract management process. So by improving our resource, improving our approach, which is very much based on the sit for best practice, as was the recently agreed procurement strategy, we're confident we can definitely make reductions. We don't know where they all are yet, but that, of course, those reductions may be in the backdrop of otherwise escalating costs.
Okay, so this isn't from just 1, 2 or 3 big contracts. It's from contracts right across the council. So it could be a small amount of £5,000 or £10,000 with one, but another one it might be 60 or 70 or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Sam, and then I'm going to go to everyone else on Teams.
Thank you, Chair. My question was in regards to RAR1 on page 59. Just looking at the commercialisation of a potential crematorium. It says here in the description of bid.
No, yeah, can you take it out? That's in year 2 and year 3, please, Sam. I think we may be talking about something that might never happen. Just a waste of everybody's breath.
Okay, cool, no problem.
Okay, if that's the case, then I am going to go to. I'm just going to go into the order they went up on my screen. Anne first, then Shirley, then Rochelle.
Right, so thank you. So, okay, in RAR2, income generation in excess of financing costs, commercial properties. It's probably just me not quite understanding it. So there's thought to be an income of 700,000 in year 1. Why isn't it 2.3 million per annum, which is the thing, which is what's supporting evidence trend analysis?
Yeah, again, can you just take that one out, because that's going to change significantly? And I mean, say if we don't believe that there are any opportunities for investment, if the market is not favourable, if we feel that the risk profile increases, we won't do it. And I expect that one of the numbers that will change significantly will be that £700,000.
And if I can just add, the reason for the apparent inconsistency in the figures, is that there's already savings that have been incorporated into previous years' budgets. So this is like the tail end of what was the original commercial ambition. It didn't all fall in one year.
No. Oh right, I see. So, because I think I read it as meaning that the 2.3. Yes, I see what you, because it does say that net income has already been budgeted for. So that figure exists, but it's already been considerably consumed somewhere else.
It's already been part of the council's previous agreed budgets. So this is about a further 700,000 to be achieved, that John's already given the context that we're more likely to be spending that on, for example, solar farms than we would on commercial properties. But I guess, well, what I'm saying is that 700k is the end of a stream of additional income targets that have been baked into the budget in previous years.
Oh, right. OK, thank you. So looking at RAR5, I don't know if this has been mentioned already, but in the bid name it says delivery intention of 1,000 hours over 4 years.
Homes. It could be homes.
Yes, right. Thank you. I thought I worked that out eventually. Well, no, it says in the text underneath. So, I suppose I would have wanted to ask, why is the income all in the first year?
Well, again, I mean, so can we just keep to year one, please, and not talk about year 2 and year 3? It's just a distraction.
But being as you asked, though, I will quickly answer. It recognised the amount of caution we had with this and the changing landscape of costs and opportunities. So we didn't add to the target in future years because of the risk that John has described.
Thank you. Yeah, that explains that. Thank you. Oh yes, so in RAR7, benefit realisation from commercial activities, could you just explain where the income's coming from?
Okay, some of this has been identified, and some of it's yet to be identified. So a good example is that used to be about £300,000, and now we have specific targets that have effectively taken on that challenge, and they're in leisure, for example, outdoor gyms and outdoor boxing. There's a few lines in there that actually, if I can just find it, yes, so boxing income, Laurel Park, outdoor gyms, all of those were, when we previously had the target of 300,000, they hadn't yet been identified. They've now been identified, which shows that we have a residual 153,000 to find. So it's similar to the answer about procurement and commissioning. It's across all the possibilities of commercial type activities in the council, partially identified, and a tranche still yet to be identified.
Right, so it could be quite a number of activities.
Yeah, it could be anything from bike rental at Dinton Pastures. You know, it's that sort of income that in some cases we may not have identified yet. It's a relatively small sum. I know it doesn't sound a small sum of money, but it is a relatively small sum of money. We're fairly, I don't like to say the word, but we are conservative about making this assumption.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's what you mean. Thank you. But not ask this. Oh, okay. Box. No, I better not ask that. And in fact, I better not ask that. So, okay, I'll just ask with R11. So that there's an expenditure shown in year one. Is that what is it? So is it definitely a sort of one-off cost that you wouldn't expect to see any ongoing costs for in subsequent years? So development of a sustainable procurement service.
Yes, that's exactly what I was referring to. So that figure, was it 210, I think, every year. So in year one, we would recruit additional resource in order to have a sufficiency of ongoing resource to do what we need to do. And then in year two, we wouldn't recruit any more. We would just have the ongoing cost of having recruited in year one.
Oh, I see. Right. So that cost would be covered somewhere else, presumably.
That cost, it is through that cost that we get the
savings,
at least get the savings that I previously referred to in terms of generating procurement savings and contract savings. That resource will be a significant contribution to that, but I'm hoping they'll do so much more.
I see what you mean. So the saving will balance the extra cost in future years. That's it, isn't it?
Yes, and my expectation is, because it's often you can't do things that you know need.
Can't hear you, Graham.
We're losing you again, Graham.
Yeah.
This time he's frozen, looking up at the ceiling through his glasses as opposed to a silly grin.
Yeah, I mean, think that this really is about how we handle our contract and work through our contracts, because if we don't have this service, we can't make the savings that we're looking to make in the contracts.
Can you hear me now?
Just
Yes,
about.
yes.
You're coming and going, actually.
Yep.
Okay. Right. I said I would expect to make even more
Yeah.
than that saving. So I think I would expect them to at least pay for themselves.
I see. So yeah, and you're just being a bit conservative in not sort of saying that, aren't you? In not showing it as an income. I mean, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got to be realistic about what we think we can do, because overstating.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it overstating next year comes on us very quickly. I mean, that's that's why I'm not too concerned about year 3, because there's a lot of water to pass under the bridge before then. But next year will come across us very quickly, and we should need to be we need to be somewhat prudent about what we say.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. Looking at RAR10.
One more, Anne.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One more, then we'll move on to someone else.
Oh, right. Okay. Internal audit and investigation redesign to set up an in-house service with external clients. Who are the external clients? How are they involved? Oh, it's all gone very quiet.
Is Graham not? What we used to do is this was something that we set up to do with other councils, and they still use some of our services, although we have lost the relationship that we had with Windsor and Maidenhead because they're looking to cut costs. But we believe that internal audit is so important, because we have to produce the numbers on a quarterly basis, and I would like to see those numbers almost produced more, if not publicly, but also on a much more regular basis, so we can do monthly reporting within the departments, so the departments have a good handle on what they're spending with regards to the budget that they've got.
Oh, right. So, okay, thanks very much. And then the external clients are the possible other councils.
Yeah, other councils that we offer the services to.
Okay.
Yeah, we have. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have 3 other clients. They're not massive, but we are quite successful in winning pieces of work. So I think that's quite a testament to the standard of the work that the service do.
Oh, yeah.
But John's absolutely right. We no longer have a shared service with the Royal Borough, which allows us to focus much more closely on our needs as opposed to meeting the needs of 2 major clients.
Okay, thanks very much then. Just switch yourself off.
Thank you for now. Yes, Anne. Shirley, you were next on the list.
Guy, yeah, I've got a question about RAR5, the 1,000 houses in 4 years. I noticed that the RAG status is amber, and I'm assuming that's because of the uncertainty around construction costs at the moment.
Yes, precisely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed underneath comments regarding the RAG status, alternative delivery models are being investigating, including joint ventures and disposal of land for developer build, etc. I'm just really asking, is this uncertainty going to put the 1,000 in 4 in jeopardy?
Well, I don't know. I mean, say I'm hoping it doesn't. I mean, say the good thing with housing, Shirley, is that we have the land, we have the customers, okay, both social and affordable. I expect what you're probably going to find us doing is you're going to find that the 1,000 homes probably won't be at risk, but you will probably see us delivering more in the way of social housing than we have in the past, because we are seeing a doubling of homelessness in the borough. Plus, we are finding as the price of homes go up and up and up in the borough, even our affordable homes now are out of the reach of people that are earning the not minimum wage, but they're not earning anything other than a good wage. People move in with children and so on, and so I think we've got to brace ourselves to deliver more social housing.
Yeah, oh, well, I would support that 100%, delivering more social housing as opposed to affordable housing, which, as you say, clearly isn't now for a lot of people. Yeah, thank you for that. It's just a concern of mine, you know, that as you said earlier, the cost of construction is going up. And I've just got one other question, which is a little bit further down, if I may. The decrease in uptake of the school kitchens contract. I mean, is that on the way out? Is this a decreasing thing that we have here? This
well,
it
it has decreased over the years for one reason or another, but there will always be a hard core of people that do want school meals, and I would welcome that, because I think there are children out there that probably from the more vulnerable families that we need to make sure they get a good meal every day.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what concerns me. You know, the fact that it's a decrease in the uptake, and I realise part of the problem is academies who are doing their own thing, and they're not.
We've lost a lot of control over that, and but you know, I'm more concerned about primary schools.
Yeah.
With the kids, you know, some kids unfortunately don't always have a substantial breakfast, and it's something that I would like to try and maintain. And of course, we own more of our primary schools than we do our secondary schools.
Right. Yeah. No. I think it's certainly a worrying. It's a worrying situation if this were to sort of peter out. So.
Yeah. I don't see it petering out, to be candid with you.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Rochelle, then.
I'm not sure if it's in the right spot here, but I didn't notice something in capital summary. Councillor laptops, £50,000. What the heck are you doing with that? Are we all getting laptops or something?
You stole my question, Rochelle. I'd like to know that as well.
I've got 2 laptops myself. Why do I want a third? You know, that kind of thing.
That's been in that. I think you'll find that's been in the programme for years. If we ever get to a point where, for security reasons, we have to have laptops, it's there. We haven't spent it. I think it was in last year and the year before. So as you say, it's not in next year. So
it's in next year's budget here, according to this, in 2022-23. So yeah, I just wondering. That's all. It's one of these weird things, like small things, and then a guide saw the same thing apparently. So
yeah, if we're forced down the route of that, we must have those sorts of things for security. I mean, say we have seen some changes with regards to the use of laptops over the last year or two. It's more about safety and security as anything else.
Or control.
Well, and the other thing obviously is important is if we can get to a point where we are a paperless council, and that helps us, that more pays for it.
Okay, I've already got my laptop, and it's it's encrypted and everything like this, so I'm not quite sure how much more secure you want to be.
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Curious, that's all. It's one of those things that kept coming up when I was scanning through my.gov.
It's not something that, as I say, I mean, we haven't said that that's what we're going to do. It's just in there, as I say, it has been in there before. So.
Okay, thank you, I guess.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that, Rochelle, because that was going to be one of my questions, and Shirley stole the other one. So I'm good on that. But I think in that particular one, it all comes down to probably what the National Cybersecurity Council actually comes back and recommends at some point, because there is a thing, because what me and Rochelle do for a living is a bit different from others. Our systems are probably very encrypted. Other members, who knows? Okay, I've seen some hands shoot up again. I saw Sam put his hand up, and I know Clive's got some more. So I'm going to go to Sam first, Clive, and then I'll come back to you. And then Anne is. Oh no, Anne's hand shut down, so we're good. Rachel, did you have anything else, or is your hand up? I think her hand's still up then. So okay, go ahead, Sam. I'll lower it myself.
Thank you, Chair. My question was in regards to RAR6 on page 64. Really great initiative. Looks like regarding the early payment program. Just really keen to understand a bit more about it. Just if you could talk to me about the net gain from this, and also really keen to understand, 'cause it says here the program is already under implementation to deliver savings. So just keen to see what the savings are and how's it all going.
Yes, okay, I'm happy to speak to that. Yes, it is very much in train. It's doing really well. It's all about, well, first of all, having some really strong payment processes in place in terms of automation and connection across the whole of the system. You can imagine invoices arrive at all sorts of desks across the council. So it's having strong controls around that. It's also really big, strong commitment accounting, so that we're really clear about what our costs are, and there aren't. If you know you've got a strong process for payment, then you're very confident about your commitment accounting and your forecasting, and then that enables you to be able to create what's called a premier supplier list. And that premier supplier list are those that you would pay sooner than their usual terms and conditions of payment. And so it's working really well, and we're confident it's going to achieve the savings that are set out in the papers. It's not something that really grabs the spotlight as a really successful project to be applauded, but I think it is hugely successful, and it's included a massive amount of work across the organisation to get to the position it has.
Yeah, and of course it's nice to pay people early, especially if you can get a discount as well, Sam. I mean, it makes you feel nice and warm inside that you know you're not stretching somebody else's cash flow. And in a lot of cases, businesses other than councils suffer badly with cash flow. So I'm very keen on it. I mean, the fact it generates £100,000 as well is just an added bonus.
No, I agree. It sounds like a really great initiative, and I think so. In summary, in my mind, it's going to help us get a greater cash flow forecasting ability for the council, but also we'll be able to get better prices for some of the services and products that we're purchasing because we're able to pay people quickly.
Yeah, and people will want to deal with us because they know they get paid promptly. So it gives the number of people we can deal with. It expands it, especially with local companies that may be smaller companies. It's always difficult dealing with small, but there are some services that we can place with smaller companies, local companies.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Graham.
Clive.
Thank you, Guy. I'm still on R6. Did we start doing this last year? What sort of savings did we make last year? Or in the current year? When do we start it?
R6, the early payment program.
Yeah. How much did we save last year on it, Graham?
Might have been 60,000. Yeah, it would have been maybe about 60,000, because I remember it being totaling 200,000 when it peaks. So I think it's gone 60 and then further 100, then a further 45.
Okay, so that is just over 200,000. But it says in the supporting evidence that we've got an estimate of 1.2 million being Woking and Borough Council's share. So in the final 2 years, we're expecting to save £1 million. Would that be right?
No, I don't know where those
I don't know where that comes from.
figures come from.
It's on the paper. It
Yeah.
says the business model has an estimate of around 1.2 million being the Woking and Borough Council's share over its 5-year project life.
Oh, I see. So 5 years.
Yeah, 200 grand a year.
Yeah, 200k a year. Yeah.
If we've saved 60 and then we're forecasting 140 the year after that, that's over 3 years of it is just 200,000, leaves nearly $1 million for the final 2 years. It just doesn't seem to work to me.
Yeah, but Clive, I think what that was representing is when it was running properly and fully functional, that would be it's what it would return over that period of time. I think it was about 200 to 250k a year. So it's not, what you're picking is years whereby it's not properly implemented. So you're taking years whereby only part of the council has been absorbed into the program. What that business case is saying, when it's fully formed, that's what it will be repaying over that period of time.
But anyway, we've only built in £100,000 for next year into the budget. So I mean that's the target for next year.
Yeah, and that represents the fact it's still not fully formed, as in fully implemented after the end of next year.
Yep, sorry. R8, this is the boxing hub. Now, I might have this wrong, but it looks to me as if we're expecting an income from the boxing hub of £28,000 a month, which is around about £6,000 to £7,000 a week. I don't suppose we've got the figures for the first month. I just wondered if we have been achieving that.
Yeah, that's the boxing hub saying £87,000 a month. A year.
A year,
Which obviously is
£7 grand a month.
£7 grand a month.
No, what it says on the paper is income of nearly £331,000 a year.
Yeah, we're talking two different things. You're talking gross income. We're talking about the profit. So the 87 is the profit, and therefore 7,000 profit a month. And obviously you're talking about the gross income figure. I couldn't give you the boxing hub information now, and nor would it be fair to give it as a reflection as an ongoing state, because they're still in mobilization stage. They're still running free classes in order to attract clientele and build up a strong customer base. So I don't think you could I don't think it'd be fair to judge any business while it was just in the throes of setting itself up.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I would suggest it's probably not very COVID friendly in most people's eyes.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So we can wait some time for them to get established, but this still shows income of £331,000, which is £28,000 a month, and it's that figure that actually seems to be high to me.
Well, we may come back with the next lockdown too, Clive, and you might find that figure's significantly reduced.
Okay, that's fine, John. Thank you. R10. This is interesting because Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead have decided to terminate this shared service. And it's going to cost us £241,000 because they have terminated this service. The PPP contract that we have pulled out of with West Parks and Bracknell, they are after a divorce settlement, which could be several £1,000s, could be a few £100,000. Is there anything in our contract with Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead that allows for us to recover some of this 241,000?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so, because there was a contract. We drew a contract, and on the basis of the contract, there was a termination clause in that contract, and they enacted the termination clause in line with the contract. So it's highly unlikely that we've got any costs. We have reduced costs in that area significantly, because it was considerably more than that, and some of the people have stayed with Windsor and Maidenhead. I think you'll find I mean, the question it's a difficult question, Clive. You're right. I mean, say we had quite a good time with the contract with them for a number of years. There reaches a point, though, that if you cut the contract back to a level which would avoid paying that £241,000, you basically end up with a service which isn't fit for purpose. And I don't think you or anybody else, I know I wouldn't want not to have an internal audit scheme. Or external audit team that did investigations and checked everything that we were doing.
Absolutely agree with you, John.
So, you know, the question I always ask whenever these things break down is, you know, well, is there anybody that we can lose? And we have lost a number, as I say, we've lost a number of people, but this is the minimum at which this department can run it, and I wouldn't want it to be any weaker than that.
No, my point is definitely we need to be having an internal audit department. I just wondered if there was any way of getting any money out of Windsor and Maidenhead. That's all.
Clive, just to clarify.
You're lagging again, Graham, I'm afraid.
Your service. We can't hear you, Graham.
Those figures, they're not a divorce. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. So just to clarify, the growth figure regarding internal audit is not a divorce settlement. It really is a recognition of the fact that we were doing pretty well out of the contribution from them. And of course, we now no longer can enjoy that. So in order to have a functioning service to deliver what we need, we're going to have to make that good. So I think it was more a recognition of it was a deal that was really good for us. And in separating that partnership, we obviously now have to fill the gap.
Thank you.
Done. Okay. Anyone else have any questions on this section? Because the next bit is capital. I'm not seeing any indications, so we'll move on to the capital program. I mean, we've already asked the question on the laptop, so we can cross that off. So who has questions on capital? Please make your hands known now. Go for it, Clive. I'm still waiting for any hands to appear on Teams as well. Well, no one's indicated on Teams yet.
I've got to read my notes, Guy.
It's not obligatory. You have to ask questions.
No, I know it's not, John. I only ask appropriate questions.
I know, Clive.
C1. So this is, we are going to be investing 66 million. So we're going to be borrowing this from Public Loans Work Board. Does this split as £20 million being spent on one solar farm and 46 million for housing?
The answer, Clive, is so we don't know the answer to that question. We have money available to invest in key corporate objectives, which includes solar farms, includes affordable housing, and then any other community investment that falls within the strategy that was agreed by executive and by council. So we don't know the answer to that question, but we do know that we've shifted our focus from the more traditional commercial type assets to the ones I've just described.
Okay.
Some of housing investment as well, Clive, will be commuted sums that we've built up over the years.
Okay.
Have you got any more,
Yep.
Clive? Because Shirley's indicating as well.
Oh, I have, yeah. C2, this is an idea to perhaps sell off the rectory space here for flats. Is that really a feasible opportunity?
Yeah,
I see that it's 11 flats, so it's actually quite a lot.
Can I first of all say that the bidding process, sorry, and
We're losing you again, Graham.
Forces really early. Can you hear me now?
You're losing about 1 in every 5 letters.
Okay. Can you? Is this better? I'm just going to change my line. Hold on.
Changes. Oh, it's line. I thought you said light. Do we have
Is that better?
That's sounding better. I was about to say, do we have a technical difficulty slide we could put up on screen? Go ahead, Graham. That's sounding better.
Yeah,
that's sounding better.
I just wanted to stress that that the nature of putting bids forward means that some really early thinking sometimes is put to the fore. Again, it's premature because we need to wait for the outcomes of the Workplace Reimagined program that I referred to, but we do expect there to be some surplus space which we may be able to rent out and accommodate other partners, for example, or we may be able to turn some surplus space into another form of benefit for the council. So I would say I would treat that as a yellow or a red, not because it's impossible, but because of the formative nature of the thinking and all the different options that may be available to the council. But I think it was put forward as a marker of we could create surplus spaces and we could utilize those surplus spaces, and if we put in appropriate investment, then not only could we make best value of surplus spaces, but also we can create the working environment that we need going forward.
Okay, it's just that it looks to be a reasonable idea that if you're going to spend 2.7 million, that you're going to get an income of what is well over £3 million, it's possibly a good idea. That's why I was just asking if it was actually feasible to do.
It is, to the best of our knowledge, it is feasible to do, but it's premature to say how feasible.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Shirley, go ahead.
Thank you, Guy. Yeah, just a quick one. And I realise that reprofiling has already been approved. I get that. I just wondered if anyone could just say to me what that £551,000 is Newbourne Merge Leisure Centre. It seems to be an amount that's jumping forward. And I just kind of wonder what that might be.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Retention. That would be
right, so that's money that's held back in case anything goes wrong at a... Fine, I thought it might be that, but I thought I ought to double check. Thank you.
I think it might be back over to you, Clive.
Okay, thanks, Guy. So the next one is C3, spending 26 million, I think it is. Yeah, 26.6 million Carnival Pool Phase 2 development. Is there a breakdown of what we're spending this money on? And another question to also go with C3 is, I think you might have told me this before, Graham, but I can't remember the answer. What will happen to the proceeds of the sale of the old library?
Okay, on the Carnival area redevelopment, yes, there will be a breakdown. It's all of the assets that surround Carnival Pool. So it's all part of the phase 3 of Wokingham Town Centre regeneration. And Bernie would have a very clear breakdown of that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
That's fine. I'll ask him for it.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
And as for Wokingham Library, there are no plans as to what its future use would be.
I think the important thing is, Clive, that whatever we do with it, and there is no plans, we haven't made any plans at all. Whatever we do with it, if it does get sold, that money will then be used to reduce the debt and on the town centre.
Okay, thank you, John. Just one more question on this C3. This question comes from the additional details right at the bottom. Is everything on target for the centre to be completed on time, so that we aren't going to get any penalties for being late?
No, we do watch this on a regular basis, and according to Bernie's team, we are on target to deliver the pool. I mean, say there was some discussions around some stuff that was superficial, wasn't part of the main development, but it won't hold up the development. I mean, it's been in the paper. There's been discussions around the delivery of some sort of cultural artwork with the local population raising the money. Now, if that does happen, it won't delay the build out.
Right. So the leisure centre will actually open on time.
We believe it will.
Or we think it will. Great.
As far as we're aware, yes. Okay.
C4. This is the swimming pool at the Bow Hunt School, and have we got a split between what the public use of the pool will be and what the school use of the pool will be?
We're not going to make the same mistake that we made with the leisure centre, It will be predominantly for public use, okay? Although there will be at times that will be blocked out for the school to use.
Yep, I get that, but you say we're not going to make the same mistake that we made with the leisure centre. So obviously we feel that they had a little bit too much use.
Well, part of the
leisure centre.
yeah, part of the problem with the leisure centre was that it was there before the school, and of course it was there before the pitches. And Bow Hunt are quite a forward-thinking trust, if I could put it that way, and we just need to be robust in our dealings with them.
Yeah. Okay. Have they made any contribution to this cost of £7 million?
No.
No.
This is developer contributions.
Okay. Oh, it's all come from Section 106 money, is it?
It will do, yes.
Yeah. So no council taxpayer money.
I can't say no council taxpayer money, because within any development, yeah, the major bulk of it will come from, but like any infrastructure thing that we deliver, there are always small costs or smaller costs around the structure and making sure that it suits the requirements of our leisure operators, which in some cases developers won't normally pick up, but we normally are fairly when we set a budget for delivering infrastructure such as this, there is normally quite a nice we try to build in a fair amount of meat.
Okay, I understand that. C5, this is about solar panels.
Yep.
And have we got any details where we think we're going to be able to put these 8 million quid's worth of solar panels?
Again, I mean, I think Graham might have gone off, but we are reassessing solar panels or solar farms for two reasons, Clive. The first reason is there is not the commercial opportunities out there to make the sort of returns, because we believe the market's overheated, as I said earlier on. But we have learnt over the last few weeks, and again, this is something that will turn up in lockdown 2. Our estimation as to the power generated by these, or the finance and the money generated by these farms, is actually probably about double that we originally built in, because of the increase in energy prices.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't froze. I was thinking.
Oh, right. Same thing.
Same thing.
Those lines actually are a bit confusing. So we've got community infrastructure investment, which we can spend on solar panels. We've got another line for Barkham solar panels, and then we've got that line as well. I think there's some, we just need to tidy those up, but the forward travel, the trajectory is no different. We are going to see how much opportunity there is around solar farms, and also obviously putting panels on assets. And in many ways, it doesn't matter what the figure is, because the business case is so strong, it pays for all the cost of borrowing and an awful lot more.
Okay, this isn't about solar farms, is it? This is, unless I've read it wrongly.
Oh, yeah, no. The bit. Sorry, I'm looking at the bit at note 4, which is the Barkham solar farm.
I think it all cross-pollinates at this point, Clive. That's what's going on.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think, as I say, I think a lockdown 2, Clive, it will be a lot clearer.
Yeah, because if you look at RAC5, it says renewable energy infrastructure projects, e.g. solar farms. If you look at, so there's then a line further down called Solar Farms Barkham, and I've already said that the sizable amount of money for community investment could also be for solar farms. So yes, they are all interlinked, and the figures will be big if we're going to undertake 3 or 4 or even 5 solar farms. But I'm saying, of course, the numbers are big and they're important. But what I'm saying is, in terms of a call on General Council's capital resources, it will have no effect because it will pay for itself and more.
Okay, we'll wait for the next meeting. And then my last question is C6. And this is spending 7.5 million on energy reduction projects. Have you got any sort of detail of what those energy reduction projects are? Or can you point me to where I will be able to see that? Because I just want to make sure that we've got the right figure there.
Yeah, that in the slide that follows, I mean, it is only a broad heading and we'd have to get more specifics, but it's the rolling programme to invest in energy reduction schemes, lighting, insulation, anything really that reduces the council's energy bill across its portfolio.
So we're going to spend 7.5 million to make these savings that you've got on the second page.
Yes, it's to make cost reductions and reduce carbon footprint.
Okay, thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions? Right, I'm not seeing any indication because all my questions got asked as always, which is a good thing. So I think that brings us to the end of going through first pass of the budget. Only taken us 4 meetings technically, 4.
4.
4 because we had the setting the scene, didn't we? So we're on target, as it were. Still work to be done, but can I thank John, Graham, and other officers that have joined and spoken tonight, because we did get through a lot, and what we look forward to seeing you all again, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in January, to go through this. All I will say is, Graham, John, please do keep me informed if circumstances do radically change due to what the government tells us. I know that, for example, in Scotland, they've turned around and said, you can put up as much council tax as you want, but we're offloading a load of responsibilities on to you as well, so you can pay for it. So that's a entirely different kettle of fish. I don't think the government are going to be doing quite that ridiculous from Westminster. So, John, Graham, thank you very much for this evening.
Can I just say thank you to you, Guy, and the other members of Overview and Scrutiny for asking the questions. We found them very challenging but enlightening, and hopefully that when we bring back the lockdown 2, it will actually answer some of the questions we couldn't answer tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. So other members who are not members of the committee can now start to disappear as well, as can officers, apart from Paul, Neil and Callum in here with me. So because all we need to go through is just quickly look at the last 2 meetings going forward into the new municipal year, new calendar year. We have the 5th of January, as previously mentioned, where we will be doing much more around the medium-term financial plan. We also have some building control, planning and enforcement. That's still due to come, isn't it, Callum?
Yep, it's just a brief, I've seen an early draft. It's a brief just presentation on sort of the specific areas and what the different departments do. I'm not thinking it will be a particularly onerous topic. Okay. But if Graham tells me that, you know, that he needs the whole meeting, then that might have to slip.
Yep, which we can move that into March if absolutely required. But if it's a quick half-hour thing and Graham doesn't think he needs the full allotment, then we can shuffle it round. We'll probably do that one first. And then moving into March, we got our annual flood risk management update, and we will, I assume we'll be inviting, I've forgotten the lovely lady's name again, I do this every year. Francesca, thank you. Francesca along to that. The police and fire update. Have we actually had any response back from them? Because I know they're always difficult.
Yep, the fire have come back and said they're happy to come along. I've not heard anything from the police, so I'm going to chase it again.
Please do. And then we got the 6-month update to the domestic abuse contract. Also to let members know that the borough-wide parking strategy and the customer journey and experience, that has been moved out to the new municipal year, mostly due to officers not having sufficient time to give us information to the standard that we would expect. So they've been given a bit of an extension on their homework. Oh, Shirley, I can see your hands just shut up.
Thank you, Guy. Yeah, I was just going to ask, the arts and culture strategy, was that going to come back at some point? Did that sort of fallen off the bottom of the list?
Callum's got an update on that one, I believe.
Yes, Shirley, very well spotted. So having spoken with the officers, because of COVID, essentially, they haven't been able to. Oh, just getting some. I think it's Shirley. There we go. Right.
I've just muted you, Shirley, for a sec.
Yeah. So having just spoken with the officers, they haven't been able to undertake as many of the different exhibitions and programs that they wanted to because of COVID. So they didn't feel that coming back in January would they'd be able to update members sort of as sufficiently as they wanted. So they've committed to coming back sort of early on in the next municipal year, hopefully, once restrictions allow more of the events and things to take place, to give members a sort of a more thorough update.
Okay, yeah, thank you. No, I just sort of spotted it slipped off, and because something crossed my mind while we were doing budget scrutiny, and obviously I look back last week as well, or the last meeting as well, and one of the things that we haven't got is any money in any budgets for arts and culture, which is a slight worry, and that might well be why they're not getting much done.
I wouldn't know about that. I mean, it's possible that it's a built-in growth cost potentially. I'm not sure.
Shirley, just on this, because my brain's just now caught up with what you said. It would be around, so what we're seeing in the budget process for this is basically the major changes in the growth items and things like that. So if it's basically built in, so for example, the costs to, I'm just going to use highways as an example, the costs to basically maintain the traffic light infrastructure in the borough, that we won't see that come to us in terms of the budget. When we get the full 2-inch long thick document in February, which has the entire budget, if we go through that line by line, we'll probably find aspects of arts and culture, exhibition A, B, C in that aspect, rather than us reviewing it. Because in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't make a big chunk of change, as it were, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
You're probably right. It's probably such a small amount that it's it's beneath our dignity to look at it. But yeah, no, it just suddenly struck me that it had fallen off the list. That was all. So thanks for that.
If members would like, I can ask the officers what funding is available for the ongoing implementation of the strategy and provide that back to members. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Callum. And yeah, I think that's it.
The only other thing, Chairman, is potentially whether, if I liaise with Councillor Bill Soane and the officers, whether members would be interested if we can fit it in just for a just another verbal update in March regarding the exit of the PPP.
Oh yes, yes.
Just to hopefully by then they should have some of the final figures, I would have thought.
Yeah,
and they want the better
certainly
idea.
not going to be ready in January for that. So yeah,
So
I'll do that.
I'll liaise with officers on that as well.
Yep. Okay. Right. If that's the case, then with nothing else, I can declare the meeting over. It's just gone 9:25. To those of us those attending on Teams, thank you very much for attending this evening. And thank you for the short notice of attending remotely. We're just trying to be sensible here. And to those watching on the internet, I hope you had a good time. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Thank you very much. Good night.